Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting of Brampton's Committee of Council. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that we are gathering here today on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and before them, the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Huron, and Wendat. We also acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other global Indigenous people that now call Brampton their home. We are honored to live, work on, and enjoy this land. All members are present here today in person with the exception of Councillor Singh, who is joining us virtually this morning. Our next item of the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do any members have any items that they would like to add or, okay, perfect. Councillor Keenan, go ahead.
I would, through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to add a discussion item around the borderlines of the BIA.
Okay.
Through you, Chair Santos. So that would be proposed item 9.3.1 under the economic development section, the boundaries of the Brampton, downtown Brampton business improvement area.
Thank you very much, Councillor Keenan. Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure which items they are, but I'd like to refer the items about parking in city facilities to council next week, and I would like to delete the conversation off the agenda about snow removal.
Okay.
So through you, Chair Santos, to members of committee, the first item is a discussion item 11.3.2 from Councillor Paleshi regarding reserve parking. So Councillor, you said referring that to council next week, March 1st. Thank you. And the second is removing from the agenda 11.3.3, a discussion item regarding snow clearing operations.
Thank you very much. And as Chair of Community Services and Vice Chair of Community Services, we would also like to add an announcement to the agenda today regarding a congratulatory message for Chief Bill Boyes. Doctor. Chief.
Hey, Dr. Chief.
Bill Boyes.
Thomas, I don't even call you anymore.
What's his official title?
Okay. Any other members want to add anything else? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by, Mr. Clerk, would you like to summarize anything or add anything?
No, I'm
We're
fine.
good?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion moved by Councillor Keenan to approve the agenda. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion carries. And we have a very big agenda today. I'm hoping we can get government relations done by lunch break. Next item is declarations under Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Do any members have any declaration of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act or any other matter to be considered in today's agenda? I see none. Oh, Councillor Vicente, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. With the added item on the BIA boundary items, I need to declare a conflict on 9.3.1 in an abundance of caution as I own property in the BIA boundary area.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vicente. The clerk will so note for the meeting minutes. Next item is consent. As part of the consent motion, I will read out each agenda item that is subject to the consent motion, and any member may verbally identify the item to be held for debate during the meeting. I'll start by reading the relevant agenda items, and there are a lot, and members can identify them to be held for debate. 8.2.1 Staff Report, Transactions Executed by Administrative Authority for June 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Consent. 9.1.1 is held for presentation. 10.2.1 is held for delegations. 10.2.2 Staff Report, Youth Employment and Engagement 2023 Update. Any holds on that one? Hold by Councillor Tour. 10.3.1, referred recommendations from the February 8th, 2023 council meeting. These are being held for consideration, Mr. Clerk. That's held for consideration.
Through you, Chair Santos, yes, as I understand they were referred from the February 8th meeting, so committee needs to turn its attention what they wish to do with these.
Okay, so currently we can put all of these in consent if no other councillor wants to hold these items. Okay, that is now in consent. Thank you very much. 10.3.2 discussion item at the request of Mayor Brown regarding auto theft. That's being held. 11.3.3 is held as well regarding Black History Month. 11.2.1 staff report, initiation of subdivision assumption. Consent. 11.2.2 staff report, initiation of subdivision assumption, Fanshore Investments Incorporated. Consent. 11.2.3 staff report, initiation of subdivision assumption, Lawrence Avenue Group. The remaining items up to 11.2.4 staff report, initiation of subdivision assumption, consent. 11.2.5 staff report, shared electric kick scooter micromobility pilot program, all wards, consent. 11.2.6 staff report, request to begin procurement for parking lot repairs at Save Max Sports Center and Cassie Campbell Community Center, consent. 11.2.7 staff report, request to begin procurement. 11.26 is held by Councillor Paleshi. 11.2.7 staff report regarding request to begin procurement pavement marking services for a 3-year initial term with 2 optional 1-year term period. Consent. 11.2.8 staff report, request to begin procurement Bramley City Center Transit Terminal pavement reconstruction, Ward 7. Consent. 11.2.9 staff report, special charges noise wall at 14 and 16 Madrid Crescent, Ward 7. Held by Councillor Fortini. 11.2.10 staff report, recording of traffic cameras at intersections. Consent. 11.3.1 is held as a discussion item. 11.3.2 is held as a discussion item. 11.3, that was amended, so that's no longer on the agenda regarding parking. That's referred to council next week. 11.3.3 discussion item regarding snow clearing, also referred to council next week, or deleted. Deleted, thank you, Councillor Paleshi. 11.4.1 correspondence from downtown BIA regarding feedback of City of Brampton draft parking plan. That is in consent. 12.2.1 staff report, Explore Brampton Youth Pass, that is held for delegations. 12.2.2 staff report, request to begin procurement for maintenance of irrigation systems for a 3-year period, all wards. Consent. 12.2.3 staff report, budget amendment, Emancipation Park servicing enhancements, Ward 7. I'm holding that one. 12.2.4 staff report, self-sustaining public washrooms, all wards, held for delegation. 12.2.5 staff report, budget amendment for construction of a joint use track at Sandalwood Heights Secondary School in collaboration with Peel District School Board, Ward 9. In consent. 12.2.6 staff report, budget amendment, developer reimbursement for the development of 3 neighborhood parks. Consent. 12.3.1 minutes, Sports Hall of Fame. Consent. 12.3.2 minutes, Senior Citizens Council consent. 12.3.3 is held for discussion. 12.3.4 is also held for discussion. 15.1, open meeting exception of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, property lease matter. Consent. 15.2, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board, a property lease matter. Consent. 15.3, proposed or pending acquisition, disposition of land and municipality or local board, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on or on behalf of the municipality or local board, another property lease matter. Consent. 15.4, open meeting exception, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and position plan regarding any negotiations carried on or to be carried on or behalf of the municipality or local board, another property lease matter. That is also in consent. Thank you very much. The clerk will now summarize. You want to hold, or you want to put it back into consent? Okay. 11.2.9 is in consent. Thank you, Councillor Fortini. So 11.2.9 is also in consent. The clerk will now summarize those items that members have held for consideration or not part of the consent motion prior to the approval of this motion. Over to you, Mr. Clerk.
Through you, Chair Santos, to members of committee.
Point of order. It's
Yeah.
Councillor Singh.
Councillor Singh, go ahead.
Does to the clerk, to 11.3.1, does that need to be held? If we put it in consent, will it just get approved?
It's currently held as a discussion item.
Okay, but it's just a motion,
Yeah,
just to save time.
I think we would have to vote on the motion, correct, Mr. Clerk?
Through you, Chair Santos, yes, generally discussion items, and this is one of the few that actually comes with a motion, so it is appreciated. But normally they're held down for discussion by committee before the vote's taken. But it has been published with the agenda, the motion, so if there is no discussion, the committee can
Okay.
add it to consent if they wish.
It is item
In the
11.
interest of time, if Councillor Tour is okay with it, I think we could just put in consent. Thank you.
Okay, so item 11.3.1 is a discussion item regarding the removal of an all-way stop at Tango Road and Cultivar Road, Ward 10. It's to remove an all-way stop. We're going to put that into consent and pass that through consent as well. Okay, thank you, Councillor Deputy Mayor Singh. That saves us some time too. So, Mr. Clerk, would you like to summarize all those items that are held by members of council for consideration?
Through you, Chair Santos. So item 10.2.2 is a staff report on youth employment and engagement 2023 update held by Councillor Tour. Item 11.2.6 is held by Councillor Paleshi, a staff report on a request to begin procurement for parking lot repairs at Save Max Sports Center and Cassie Campbell Community Center, Phase 2. And just going through the list, item 12.2.3, Chair Santos has held as a staff report on a budget amendment, Emancipation Park servicing enhancements in Ward 7. And those are the only items held specifically by members of committee, with the rest held for either presentations or delegations or approved on consent.
Thank you very much. And all items in closed session have also been put into consent.
There will be public motions arising from those, and we'll deal with those at the appropriate time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I have a motion moved by Councillor Medeiros to approve the consent motion. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Our next item is announcements. Item 5.1, an announcement regarding Magna International new manufacturing investment. And joining us today is Misty Rice, Executive Director of Government Affairs, Magna International. Councillor Tour, who is the Chair of Economic Development, is the sponsor for this announcement. Welcome, Misty.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your taking time to let me speak. So I just wanted to talk about one of our largest growth stories we've had in the region in quite some time. And as you may know, Magna is one of the largest suppliers in the automotive industry. In fact, we're the #1 auto supplier in North America, with our closest competitor in North America, which is half our size. And today, Magna has 49 manufacturing facilities and more than 18,000 employees in Ontario, with more than 2,000 of those right here in Brampton. So we're very excited. And hopefully you saw last week, we announced we're opening a brand new 490 square battery enclosures facility in Brampton to support the Ford F-150 Lightning and our future OEM programs. And our operations are scheduled to begin in Q2 of this year, of 2023, and we'll begin hiring more than 550 employees. We're very excited about this. Magna's a great place to work. Our operating philosophy is based on our fairness and our concern for our people, and our employees are our greatest asset. We have some great employees there in Brampton. We're very enthusiastic about this announcement, and we appreciate the support from the City of Brampton and the Economic Development Office. And we just really look forward to working together. And again, I really thank you for this opportunity, and we're very excited to make this announcement and partner with your folks.
Thank you so much, Misty. We're very excited about this announcement as well. Councillor Tour, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Misty, for those words. And that was an exciting day in Brampton. And you know, as a follow-up, there's been tons of questions that we get from members of public. Is when is Magna going to start hiring? So if you have an answer that I can relay back to residents that are inquiring about that, you know, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. We have started the hiring process already, and if they go to magna.com careers, they can apply right there online, and we'll start that process right away. I encourage everybody to do so.
Excellent. Thank you, Misty.
Thank you so much, Misty. And Councillor Tour, Magna has a very special place in my heart. It is the first place that I started my career at the young age of 16 at Massive Dye Firm at Bramley and Steeles, and I have so many family and friends. And so from a personal connection, I really love the fact that Magna continues to choose Brampton for its various expansions. Thank you, Misty. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Tour to receive the delegation. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Our next item on the agenda is 15.2, which is Pink Shirt Day. And all of our colleagues today are wearing pink shirts. Thank you very much. And so I will read the proclamation, which will be presented to the requesting organizations. Pink Shirt Day was inspired in 2007 when 2 students in Nova Scotia took a stand against homophobic bullying after a new student in grade 10 was harassed and threatened by other students for wearing pink. In an act of solidarity and justice, these students brought dozens of pink shirts and distributed them to their classmates and wore them the next day. Pink Shirt Day design was inspired by moments of kindness, empathy, and understanding that can mean so much to children impacted by bullying. Approximately 1 in 5 students are bullied every day. Pink Shirt Day aims to raise awareness of these important issues. Bullying is a form of aggression which can result in mental health issues, including anxiety, low self-esteem, and depression, as well as physical trauma. Bullying is a major problem in our schools, workplaces, homes, and online. In our current climate through the world, Pink Shirt Day is a welcomed reminder to generously create moments of kindness, empathy, and understanding. Although Pink Shirt Day was created with a focus on children, it can be applied to all generations of society who have been victims of harassment and bullying because of their gender, race, disability, sexual orientation, or ethnicity or religion. The City of Brampton recognizes February 22nd, 2023, along with the rest of the world, to foster a more kind, inclusive, and empathetic society. The City of Brampton is committed to valuing and respecting one another. We encourage everyone to practice kindness and wear pink to symbolize that we do not tolerate bullying in our communities. Therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Patrick Brown of the City Council, do hereby proclaim February 22nd, 2023 as Pink Shirt Day in the City of Brampton. Thank you. I guess the Mayor was supposed to read that, were you? Sorry, Mayor Brown. The next item on the agenda is the added announcement regarding a congratulatory message to our very own Fire Chief and Acting Commissioner Bill Boyes. I think it was just on Friday that, I'm not sure if folks know, but Bill did his defense for his thesis paper as a candidate for his PhD. And passed with flying colors, I heard. And in fact, not only passed, but at the defense presentation, I heard that it was passed as is. And from what I understand, less than 5% of PhD candidates actually get that grading during their defense. And so on behalf of myself, Chair of Community Services and Fire Services, as well as Vice Chair, Councillor Brar, and our colleagues on council, we wanted to wish you a very, very big, hearty congratulations. We are super proud of you, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, and if you don't mind, I'd like to just mention the City of Brampton and the continuing development and support. I started as a firefighter in 2004, and shortly after started taking continuing education, and I mean, we talk about the city as an excellent employer. I think this is just an example of them supporting me in the development, and a big thanks to our HR team and my fire colleagues, CLT, and all of Mayor and Council. Thank you for your support. So very happy to be finished it.
We can now officially call you Doctor, I think. Dr. Boyes, expert in fire services.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to reading the paper. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Now we are going to move to public delegations. Our first public delegation is a possible delegation regarding a notice of intention to amend the user fee bylaw 380, 2003 Transit Division User Fees Explore Brampton Youth Pass Pilot Program, and it relates to item 12.2.1 on today's agenda. Are there any members from the public that want to delegate on this item? Seeing that there are no delegations, is it possible for us to pass the report as well? Do any members have any questions related to the report 12.2.1? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Pelletier to approve the report 12.2.1 on today's agenda. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 6.2, delegations regarding vandalism attack on Sri Gauri Shankar Mandir in Brampton and increase in hate crimes against the Hindu community. We have two delegations today. Nayan Brahmbhatt, Brampton resident, and Jitish Kumar Tripathi, Brampton resident as well. Welcome, Nayan, followed by Jitish Kumar. You each have up to 5 minutes. There is a clock behind me with that timer, and the clerk will let you know when you have 1 minute left. So, Nayan, are you here, either online or in person? Online. Nayan, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Santos, and I would like to congratulate for City Council first for having Magna facilities in Brampton. Let me start with that. And I also like to congratulate Dr. Phil Usays for Chief Phil on this announcement. Let me start with this. It is, in the morning of this Wednesday, and start with this painful message about increased crime against the Hindu community in Brampton. That is, I think, the concerning and alarming situation for the city. As a Hindu community, everyone, living here with the peace, progress, and wanted to grow together. But the city has seen in most recent time that systemic attack increase on the Hindu community, and that is we have seen through just most recent incidents here in Gauri Shankar and our neighboring city in Mississauga, also the Ram Temple. And therefore, I like to, the City Council take a note on this and have concrete solution that the City Council bringing, some system in place which makes sure that all faiths and race and religions having, the freedom, and they have been protected by law, and also the administration make sure that such an incident does not happen in the future. And therefore, my first request, and also would like to introduce motion, and that can be and in the following meeting we can discuss on this. The Hindu phobia needs to be added under the anti-racism under Brampton City Hall and Peel Police Park. So that is the first important thing that we have seen, that there is no advisory committee on the Hindu hate crime or Hindu community related. We're the third largest population in the Canada, and now numbers are growing, and the community is very peaceful and progressive, and believing, also respecting other religions too. While at the same time, the systematic, Hindu hate crime is not limited to the Brampton. It is all over GTA, and that any city, regardless of the authority, make sure that everyone has enough space to pray their freedom without any fear. And therefore, I also request the City Council to bring in motion to the appointed officer that handle the Hindu phobia incidents or Hindu phobia hate crime related issues, and that he or she must be a community advocate. So technically, the person we appoint, he or she must be a community advocate, and that will, there's some incidents I like to share, and most recent time the city also passed. That's again another meeting that the fireworks also. I think city also need to learn from the most recent decision from the city of Mississauga, that they have not completely banned the fireworks, which is against, related to the Hindu community's celebration where they do the Diwali days. The second important thing is that Gauri Shankar temple is very well known in the area and other temple as well. And any graffiti or any attack on temple is considered as attack on the Hindu community.
Nayan, you
And
have
we
1
live
minute
in
left.
yeah, we lived in a multicultural city. Our city is known for multiculturalism, and we respect everyone. At the same time, we also want safety and also a proper administration support and action from the administration in such a incidents, so that people have faith in the system and people also have a belief in the city council that makes sense for us as a Canadian. And I just want to conclude my statement with that. Also, this is the Black History Month, so I just want to have a wish you the Black History Month, the people in the Black community living in the city and around Canada. And again, I request the City Council to make a note of this serious issue and take immediate action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nayan. Next, we have Jitish Kumar Tripathi, Brampton resident. Are they present in the gallery? Oh, online. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
I am.
You have 5
Thank
minutes.
you very much. Yes, thank you very much. And I'd like to congratulate all city councils for bringing Meghna plant in the city of Brampton. And also, I'd like to thank you everyone for giving this opportunity to talk about what I want to say about this thing. Like we have to recognize Hindu phobia now. It's growing very badly in Brampton. Especially, we see incidents happening every other day. So I totally agree with Nayan Brambhat what he was saying, that city needs to address this because we are more than 20-25% in city of Brampton, and regardless of that number, whether we are 1% or 20%, charter of our constitution protects every single person who lives in Canada, and being a Canadian, we all have right to live safely and peacefully in the country, and that's what we all demand. And I request city councils and other people who are decision makers, please have us, online or something that people can complain the what they are feeling, how things are happening. It is just like bullying in schools that need to stop. This is also similar to that, which needs to stop. Like every single day you hear in different cities that this is happening, this is happening. I see there are people who are demanding, like Khalistan. It's their right; they can demand the thing, but like vandalism on other community is not a good idea. So that should be stopped. So I really request City of Brampton to take initiative like Mayor Brown just did initiative for the car theft all over Canada. I really appreciate his step. So similar to that, City of Brampton need to recognize this and be a champion to come up with some solution to this, not only for one community. It could be a problem for any community. So make some arrangement so that this type of hate crime does not increase. We are all inclusive, and that's how we should be. And Canada is one of the best country in the world who advocate these things. So we need to see that on grounds as well. So my request to everyone is to please listen to us and address this issue as early as we can, so that these kind of attacks can be stopped in the future. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I really hope that City of Brampton be the champion in addressing these issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jitesh, for your delegation, as well as Nayan. Do any members have any questions for? No? Okay. Motion from Councillor Power to receive the delegation. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much for the delegations. Next, we have item 6.3, delegations regarding the 2023 IIHF World Women's Championship being held at the CAA Center on April 2023. We also have the related staff report, item 10.2.1 on today's agenda, which we will deal with after the delegations. So today we have for delegations Dean McIntosh, VP Events and Properties, Marin Hickox, Director Women and Girls Hockey, Fran Ryder, President, OWHA, Pat Nichols, Director of Operations, OWHA, and Con Bay, Manager, Events, Revenue Generation. Welcome, everyone. You have up to 5 minutes. Are they virtual today? Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is Dean McIntosh, and I will speak on behalf of Hockey Canada and the International Ice Hockey Federation, along with the Ontario Women's Hockey Association. I'm not going to go through the deck specifically. I believe you all have a copy of that and the follow-up report, but I wanted to highlight a number of key items for consideration. First of all, I want to give you a bit of a status of women in sport, and as it specifically relates to hockey. As early as 1992, we had less than 6,000 participants in Canada registered to play hockey, women's hockey in Canada. As of today, we have over 100,000 participants playing the game in Canada. We've seen incredible growth, and I think there's a great opportunity for Brampton today to be a real leader as women's sport continues to grow. I want to really speak about three things today for Brampton. I want to speak to you about the value for the City of Brampton. I want to speak to you about partnership with the City of Brampton, and I would like to speak to you about the legacy of hosting the Women's World Championship in Brampton. So first and foremost, let me talk about value. This event will bring in 10 international teams, officials, the International Ice Hockey Federation. There will be over 500 individuals participating in the event. We know that the event will spend over $4 million in the region, and we know that the event will drive over $10 million in economic impact into Brampton and the region. We have a long-term strategic partnership with TSN and RDS. They will carry all 30, potentially 31 games from the CAA Center, and they will broadcast those games worldwide to over 10 million viewers. We also know that we will provide the City of Brampton with multiple opportunities throughout the venue, vomitorium space, on ice, on rink boards, speaking opportunities, presentation opportunities. And we know the value of this through the 100,000 people that will attend in the venue and the over 10 million that will watch worldwide, that will be delivering over $500,000 in direct value to the City of Brampton through those visual assets and those opportunities that you will have. That speaks to the value. I want to speak a little bit to partnership. Really, when it relates to partnership, we have both funding partnership, we have community partnership, and we obviously have corporate partnership. From a government perspective, we already have the support of the Government of Ontario. They have supported the event to the tune of $500,000. We continue to have the support of the Government of Canada. We are finalizing some funding with the Government of Canada, but we do have confirmation that Minister St. Onge will be in attendance throughout the duration of the event. We also have the support of our major corporate partners, and as you can see on the screen, Tim Hortons, Esso, TELUS, Bauer, BFL, Chevrolet, Scotiabank, Timbermart, along with a number of other commercial partners, have all put their support, both financially and community relations, behind the event. I think the other thing that's really important with regards to partnership, we have a partnership in hockey. We have a partnership with the International Ice Hockey Federation. We are delivering this event on their behalf. The final item that I think is really important for the City of Brampton is legacy. And I want to talk a little bit about the legacy we are going to leave behind in the City of Brampton. First and foremost, as part of the event, we donate over 3,000 tickets back to community and youth programs through the United Way. Those 3,000 tickets represent over $75,000 in value and ensure that along with 100,000 fans that we have in the building, we'll have another 3,000 plus young community girls who are involved through various programs in Brampton that will be able to attend and see their heroes. We're also investing in the venue. We are spending over $50,000 to build what we call cubbies, but the spaces above where the players sit in each of the dressing rooms. that store their helmets, gloves, hang their jerseys, those types of things. Those will remain in the venue and remain a legacy for any user group that goes into the venue from here on forward. We are partnering with the Ontario Women's Hockey Association. There will be over 15,000 young players in Southern Ontario playing in the provincial championship during the same time as the Women's World Championship, and they will be able to attend events throughout the event.
Dean, you have 30 seconds to wrap up, please.
We are building cultural and community programming. We will affect over 2,000 community participants in on-ice hockey programming, and we have significant cultural programming through Indigenous artwork and other displays through the event. We believe today Brampton has a choice. You can invest dollars in trying to bring events to your community, or you can work with Hockey Canada, the IHF, and the OWHA to leave a community legacy. We're requesting $300,000 to support the event, and we look forward to bringing great value to the city of Brampton. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean, for your delegation. Do any members have any questions or comments? Mayor Brown, please go ahead.
Santos is good. My mic's on. I just want to say this is really exciting for the city of Brampton to have such an iconic event. You know, this will be watched around the world, and I've had a number of people reach out and ask, "Boy, you know, how is Brampton so lucky to land this?" I think it's really good fortune that they looked at the perfect location that is CA. And I guess my first question is, recently you had this event in Halifax. What level of support did you have there on a local level, and what are you looking for from the city of Brampton?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. We had awarded the 2020 Women's World Championship to the city of Halifax. As many people know, through COVID, we were required to cancel that event, or told by the province of Nova Scotia that we had to cancel that event. We had $500,000 in support for that event in Halifax. Subsequently, we moved the event to Calgary and operated that event, what we call in a bubble or an enclosed environment. And without fans in the building, we had funding from the province of Alberta and the city of Calgary for a total of $1.2 million, split $700,000 from the city of Calgary and $500,000 from the province of Alberta.
What was the last event you had pre-COVID that would be more of a typical year?
The last Women's World Championship we hosted in Canada would have been in Kamloops in 2016. And we had $550,000 in support from the province of British Columbia and the city of Kamloops. And in addition to that, we had $300,000 in funding from the government of Canada.
How much was from the city of Kamloops that year?
There was a combination of in-kind and cash from the city of Kamloops. I'd have to look back at my exact numbers. I believe the total number was $300,000, but included free building for the entire duration of the event. That represented a little over $250,000, and then cash to support.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I'm just thinking from a procedural standpoint, it'd be great to today's committee of council. You know, maybe next week we can have some recommendations from staff on what their thoughts were, the ways the city can be supportive, whether it's financially or in kind. You know, we've got a proud women's hockey history. The Canadettes are an incredible. We have a motion? Okay, good. Okay, great. I'd say we got a proud women's hockey history with just a few weeks ago at Councillor Keenan and Medeiros Escape. We had Cassie Campbell there talking about what it meant to grow up playing hockey in Brampton. Former Mayor Susan Fennell reached out to me saying this is going to get attention across the world, and so I want to say this is really, really exciting. And I know the late Hazel McCallion used to tell me anything to do with women's hockey, speak to Fran Ryder. So the fact you got Fran Ryder involved in this gives me confidence, because I know Hazel thought the world of Fran. So I look forward to the motion that Councillor Santos will have. And just want to say really excited about this. And Councillor Keenan, I look forward to Tenley playing in this event in 12 years.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brown. And just for clarification, there isn't necessarily a motion, but there is a corresponding report associated with this delegation. And within the report, there are different options that staff have outlined and asking council for direction on what to choose. And so that being said, while some of my colleagues review perhaps those recommendations, that we could either deal with this today or refer the report to council next week, I do have just a couple of questions if there are no further questions on the board.
But just one last question, sorry, if I could have your indulgence, Councillor Santos. Given the fact we've got this great minor hockey organization, I had heard that in other cities sometimes we could get some participation of the players. Like if we could get some of the Canadian players to maybe come out to some of our candidates' events, maybe a practice. Is there any opportunity to sort of capitalize on the fact we've got these role models in the community to work with local sports organizations to help with some mentoring and inspiration during that period?
It's a fantastic question, Mayor Brown, and I think a couple of things that are important to note. One, we are recruiting for our volunteer program through young women and girls programs in Brampton, so under 18 program, volunteer in roles around the event that include on-ice roles like carrying the flags or shovel crews, things like that. So some great opportunity to be engaged. We are going to deliver programming for young hockey players in the community of Brampton. As you all know, we're fortunate enough at the CAA Center to have 4 ice pads. We will be utilizing all 4 ice pads. One will be dedicated, obviously, for the games. One will be dedicated for team practices. One will be dedicated for volunteers, storage, and will be covered. And the 4th will be all for community engagement programs, which will bring young participants from the city of Brampton into that community ice surface and allow them to participate. The other thing we will be delivering is open ice sessions. So practices will be open for young players to enable them to come and see and watch open ice practices. And the final effort that we're working with the International Ice Hockey Federation is to put on 2, what I'm going to call mini conferences, really focused at youth sort of ages 14 to 30. And I know that's a broad spectrum, but it's really about how do you get involved in sport if you're a young woman? How do you engage with sport if you're a young woman? And we'll have panelists from everything from TSN, former players, alumni, and our programs. So we think the athletes are really going to have a great touch point with the city of Brampton, a great opportunity, and really looking forward to them being a key portion of the event.
Thank you very much, Dean, for that. I now see Councillor Vicente on the board. Councillor Vicente.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. In looking at the report, I know that staff have outlined an option for the $250,000 support level, but I'd like to better understand, if we can, if Gage is here, to explain what the difference might be between the $250,000 support level and the $300,000 full ask, please.
Yep, that's a very good question. Through the chair, Hockey Canada has outlined the 2 differences. So it would be a total of $300,000 that they're asking, and at last week's City Council meeting, in February, it was approved for us to sponsor for $50,000. So the difference between $350,000 would be no on-ice logo for the City of Brampton, no logo that's being seen by cameras through the broadcast. There'd be no logo placement on the players' benches, in the media backdrops when interviews are taking place, some of the signage that's above the boxes and the suites, there'd be no city logo. If Dean's still on the call as well, he might be able to refer to some more of the items that would not be recognized for the city in sponsorship. So that'd be the different levels. I think we'd be in the same level as some of the other funding partners, as the provincial government and the federal government as well as funding partners.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, with respect to the broadcast rights, how many people would be seeing this across the country and in other countries?
Through the chair, all the games are going to be shown on TSN, and that's, I think, as Dean said, is going to be 31 games. As a benchmark, we have the 2021 games, and that was over 4 million. I believe it's anticipated of much higher than that as women's hockey has grown over the last few years. So I think they're anticipating 6 million plus for this year's event online watching.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, when broadcasters typically do coverage of sporting events like this, it is routine for them to broadcast a vignette that covers the fact that you're in this city, this is what the city is. They would show footage and detail aspects of what Brampton is and why we're here in Brampton holding this tournament here. Would that not be par for the course, so to speak?
Yeah, through Madam Chair, that is something that I believe would be done through different sport organizations when they are hosting an event. I can't speak on behalf of Hockey Canada what they have planned for the city of Brampton. I know in the announcement they did a video. If you're watching the World Juniors, there was an announcement video about this event coming to Brampton, and there was some aerial shots of downtown Brampton and stuff like that. So there is, easy connections of being in Brampton, some celebratory moments naturally through hosting the event in Brampton. It's still going to be said it's in Brampton or hosting it in Brampton, stuff like that. But whereas the city's branding and awareness of the city's services and stuff like that in connection, we may not have. So we are still working regularly with Hockey Canada on different ways to recognize Brampton and make sure those community partnerships are involved, but to the level of distinction that the city is involved in and recognizing as a partner and host in the events is that kind of different level of distinction.
Thank you. And so my only other comment to make, Madam Chair, through you, is that we're looking at less than 2 months away when this is going to be taking place, and I would ask that Council consider today so that we can give certainty to this, to go for the $300,000 ask by the IIHF, and for us to jump in and to make this happen and to make sure that this is well supported, and also looking forward to hearing more from staff on what our communications efforts would be to make sure that all across the city of Brampton that residents are aware that something this exciting is happening here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councillor Vicente, and seeing no one else on the board, permission to speak. Thank you very much, Councillor Pelletier. So just a few questions. I'm happy to move the motion to approve option number 1 identified in the staff report for $250,000 cash sponsorship. I think it's a great idea as per what Mayor Brown as well as Councillor Vicente have shared. Certainly for women's hockey, and as International Women's Day is coming up and we see many challenges for women in sports, I think it's only appropriate for the city of Brampton to be providing this level of sponsorship for women in sports. I do have a couple of questions, I guess, to the delegation, even to staff as well. So assuming that this motion passes today and we go in with the $250,000 cash sponsorship, can we also consider the integration of support for small businesses and promoting small businesses, particularly our downtown BIA who are struggling right now, as well as I see Scotiabank is the sponsor, one of the sponsors for this particular tournament. It would be great to highlight the Hockey Jersey, a book that was written by J.L. Richardson and illustrated by Chelsea Charles, both Brampton residents and artists in the city of Brampton, hoping that we can integrate those things so that we highlight our local folks here in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. Through Madam Chair, we've actually had multiple meetings with the downtown BA of different ways to activate the area, doing some pageantry in the downtown area to activate the downtown businesses. There is a bit of a package that local businesses can work with Hockey Canada directly, and they've received that package through the board members at the BIA, so they can get activations within their storefronts, their restaurants, and whatnot. We've also had a few other community initiatives to involve specifically the book that you were referring to as well as the Canadettes, as recently mentioned, the big Easter tournament that's coming on the Easter weekend as well, to engage them beyond that. So absolutely there will be further.
Well, I'm very, very excited about it. And then my last question is actually about tickets. For City of Brampton, making sure that we have access to those. I saw in the report that they are providing tickets to students during their games during the day, which is awesome. Free tickets for students, hoping that council colleagues and folks throughout the city of Brampton can show support by us being there in person as well.
Yes, through Madam Chair, that is absolutely what we're working on. The community school initiatives, we're inviting local schools to come and participate during the day. And as part of the sponsorship package, that was one of the items that I believe I omitted, was that the difference between 50 and 300 is option for a suite, and offer to invite partners and different members of the city staff to attend the events, and how we want to use those tickets. So we'll work directly with the council to see what that looks like and which games and how we use those.
Awesome. Well, I think everyone is looking forward to attending and supporting. And so as Chair of Community Services and Vice Chair of Community Services, we'd like to move this motion forward for option number 1 to be approved as per the report from staff. So Mr. Clerk, we have a motion to approve the delegation and provide the following option number 1 for $250,000 cash sponsorship as requested by Hockey Canada, and in-kind communication supported by the city-owned assets and channels. Motion is on the screen, moved by myself and Councillor Brar. Anyone opposed? Oh,
Chair.
Oh, question from Commissioner Kennard.
Sorry, I'm just reading through, so we have 250 in addition to the 50,000 that was approved through the sports tourism. So on that last line, the additional, should that not be additional 250 to be funded from the GRS? And if you wouldn't mind adding in or account, appropriate account as deemed appropriate by the treasurer.
Sounds good, Rick.
Thank you.
So, and the additional 250,000 amount be funded from the general rate stabilization reserve as required, or alternate accounts as may be deemed appropriate. So I think we're just changing that to 50. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion carries. We are looking forward to the event in April. Next item on the agenda is a delegation from Vijay Paudel, President, Federation of Canadian Nepal Chamber of Commerce, regarding a park naming in Wards 3 and 4, Sagamartha Park. We also have related discussion item 12.3.3 on today's agenda, which we will also deal with after the delegation. Welcome, BJ. You have up to 5 minutes for your delegation, and I see you're here in person. Good to see you in person. And you'll be able to see the clock behind me, too.
Oh, yeah, right
5 minutes.
Yeah, I can see that. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for having me here today. Especially, I want to give a big shout out to Mayor Brown for inviting us and the council member. And we have the community member right here from our Nepalese community organization here in Brampton. And his Mayor Worship Patrick Brown, city council members and staffs. First of all, I'm very excited and honored to be here, to be speaking for the first time in front of the Brampton City Council on behalf of Federation of Canada Nepal Chamber of Commerce and Nepalese Community Network of Canada, NCNC. I'd like to thank all of our Nepalese community members accompanying this delegation. We'd like to present a proposal to rename a community park right here in Brampton that represents the identity of the Nepalese Canadian community. So in view of growing size of Nepalese diaspora in Brampton, growing number of business serving the Canadian economy, and increasing people-to-people contacts between Nepal and Canada, Brampton has become one of the vibrant cities to live, raise a family, pursue education, start business, and work. So Nepalese Canadian diaspora is ready to take on the social responsibility of preserving our parks and keeping the community active through various activities. NCNC, it's a Nepalese community organization, and we have the community
members here as well. And NCNC, they called a public town hall meeting on January 22nd, 2023, along with the participation of various community organizations and the name. And we have the name, it's called Sagarmatha Park, and that was approved from the community. So we would like to request the Brampton City Council members to rename the park in Brampton South, which is Ward 3 and 4, where majority of Nepalese diaspora call it home. So I'll give a little background on the name Sagarmatha, why it's Sagarmatha. So it's a Sanskrit word meaning goddess of the sky, which is also known over the world as Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world, 29,000 above sea level, at 1,848.86 meter high. The first people to officially summit Mount Everest was Tenzing Norgay Sherpa from Nepal and Sir Edmund Hillary from New Zealand on 29th May 1953. So legacy of the first ascent has been inspiration across the world and generation. And global community across the world are coming together to celebrate 70th anniversary in Nepal, including Everest Base Camp Trek and other activities from 16th May to June 1. So on this very special occasion of 70th anniversary, it would be a wonderful opportunity for a Nepalese Canadian community, City of Brampton, and everyone to rename and inaugurate the park in Brampton with its name, Sagarmatha. So I would also like to take this opportunity to invite Bramptonian to Nepal to celebrate 70th anniversary of the first ascent of Mount Everest and involved in lifetime experience of trek to Mount Everest Base Camp. So I'll give a brief insight on the concept of the park. So park is where we know different community members from different age group, including kids, adults, parents, seniors, come to do different kinds of activities. So on the phase one, we would like to propose basically just the basic three things. So which is Mount Everest shaped rock climbing structure inside the park would be an extra attraction of the park. All kids would benefit from this as well. So install outdoor fitness equipment inside the park and display the board, clearly displaying the picture, height, and the brief description of the Sagarmatha, which is Mount Everest. So on the second phase, we'd also like to build a Tenzing Norgay Sherpa monument, if possible. That's on the second phase. And inside the park. So NCNC is one of the oldest Nepalese organization in Brampton and is ready to adopt the park to take responsibility for cleanup and perform various activities like yoga and other community gathering to integrate, have fun with other community members in the neighborhood. So we do have Sagarmatha National Park that extends over 1,148 square kilometers of Himalayan ecological zone in Khumbu region in Nepal. So it also covers the highest peak in the world, Mount Everest. And Sagarmatha Park, once approved in Brampton, would be of high significance to recognize the contribution made by Nepalese community. So this would also foster the growth and relationship between Canada and Nepal as we celebrated the 68th bilateral, is it 58th, right? 58th bilateral relationship between Canada and Nepal. We hosted the event recently in Brampton. And Nepalese Canadian diaspora in Brampton and surrounding is ready to work together with the City of Brampton council member and staffs to take this project to the next level. So let us seek our own Everest right here in the city of Brampton. So that would be very wonderful. So thank you, Mayor Brown and everyone for providing this wonderful opportunity to represent this important delegation on behalf of the Nepalese Canadian community. Dhanyavad, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your delegation. Mayor Brown, you have some questions and comments.
And so I just forward to you, Peter, a motion that we can put forward accompanying with this delegation. The Nepalese community has grown in a beautiful way in the city of Brampton. I see all the functions, the celebrations, having momos at community events, and it's great to see how involved the community is. I even went to the first Nepalese cricket tournament last summer, and I know there's a very large community in the south end of Brampton. I think this is a wonderful initiative. And so what I love the idea you came up with children's climbing equipment. You see that in some parks in Brampton already, and I think that would be very a special way to celebrate that 70th anniversary. And so Brampton is a mosaic of cultures and peoples, and we love to celebrate it. So I think this is a great idea. Thank you, BJ, for coming forward with the Nepalese Canadian organization for this suggestion. And what I wanted to suggest is just that staff report back on the location awards 3 or 4 to name existing park or future park as Sagarmatha Park in consultation with the ward councillors and mayor, that the feasibility of adding children's climbing equipment be added to the park, to add it to the report, I guess, that comes back to council.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brown. So we have a motion moved by Mayor Brown for staff to report back on location in wards 3 and 4 to name an existing park or future park as Sagarmatha Park in consultation with ward councillors and the mayor, and that the feasibility of adding children's climbing equipment to this park be included within the report. We'll also include in this motion the receipt of the delegation, moved by Mayor Brown. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much for your delegation and for the motion, Mayor Brown. Our next item on the agenda is delegations regarding youth mental health, which also deals with item number 12.3.4 on the agenda, discussion item, as well as a motion that will be coming up after the delegation. Today we have Kathy McDonald as well as Carla Bailey joining us both today, each for a delegation. Kathy, welcome here in person. It's always lovely to see you here in the council chamber. And you have 5 minutes for your delegation.
Thank you. So thank you for accepting my delegation, and I'd like to thank you, Councillor Santos, for your upcoming motion. It is important for all levels of government, as well as the region, Peel Regional Police, and all school boards to join forces and work collaboratively to address youth mental health in Peel. As a mother of 4 change makers, ages 24, 17, 14, and 9 in Peel, I can tell you I have daily conversations with my children, and it's apparent we are beyond a mental health crisis in Peel. One of my children has had a friend commit suicide a few months ago. One has a friend that has been trafficked and has been totally traumatized. There are reports of many of their classmates having suicidal ideations, and the list goes on. As a mother that volunteers in many organizations, excuse me, including United Achievers Club and the Congress of Black Women Brampton chapter, I've sat on many committees, including MPP Sonia Sidhu's roundtable on the opioid crisis and the Brampton's Youth Task Force led by Yvonne Senaya. Make no mistake, our kids are in crisis, and as the adage goes, it takes a village to raise a child. I'm asking the City of Brampton to take the lead in this village and ensure that its most precious and valuable citizens, the city's future tax-paying, productive residents, have a mentally healthy environment to live, work, and play. In my humble opinion, this issue is so multifaceted that it requires all hands on deck, including all levels of government. First, there's a need to advocate for increased funding across all sectors responsible for the delivery of programming to improve mental health, for the development of mental health resources, and for the development of awareness, prevention, and programming to reduce the stigma on mental health and start having courageous conversations. Educate kids on how to respond and how not to respond. Educate kids about the pitfalls of social media and the responsible use of social media and digital citizenship. It's important to reach out to community partners to assist in programming around health and self-esteem. Partner with all learning institutions to establish robust tools for staff to help identify and support students who may be at risk for being involved in activities such as self-harming, suicide ideations, or human sex trafficking, and all other negative behaviors or activities. As Frederick Douglass said, It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. So please, as we all collectively work towards having a safe and healthy Brampton, by ensuring that our community is resilient, mentally healthy, and adequately equipped to support its residents when they are most vulnerable. A task force similar to the Brampton Youth Task Force, which was created during COVID, could be established with all relevant partners to tackle the gargantuan issue. At this table, collaboration, knowledge exchange, and advocacy will be key in leveraging all available financial supports required to adequately combat this cancer in our city. So I'm asking the councillors to please support Councillor Santos' motion and lead this village in combating the mental health plague that's devouring our youth in Brampton. Thank you, and happy Black History Month.
Thank you so much, Kathy. We have some questions from council, but wondering if my colleagues want to wait until Carla Bailey does her delegation first, or do you have questions for Kathy?
I have questions for Kathy, but I can wait until Carla.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Kathy, we're going to get Carla to do her delegation, and then we'll both have you on online and in person to answer questions as well. Okay, Carla, you have 5 minutes. You're available online, Carla?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Mayor and members of council. As an engaged parent and a concerned community member, it is with a heavy heart that I'm here today. The subject that brings me here today is a serious one that has unfortunately not received the financial attention it deserves. Whether everyone present today is aware of it or not, both Brampton and the region of Peel is in the midst of a significant mental health crisis. Every school in the region of Peel is impacted by the mental health crisis engulfing our nation's children and youth. In the past few years, we have seen a dramatic increase in mental health issues among young people in our region, and it has become a serious problem that must be addressed. The fact is, mental health issues can have long-term damaging effects on youth. Mental health issues can result in lower academic achievement, lack of self-esteem, poor social relationships, and more. Mental health is an important part of our overall health and well-being for individual families and communities. The World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. It's important to recognize that mental health is not static, but rather is affected by multiple factors, such as biological, physiological, social, and environmental. This means that mental health is very complex and is constantly changing. The youth of today face unique challenges that can have serious impact on their mental health. This includes a pressure to do well in school, the pressure to fit in with their peers, the pressure to be accepted by their parents and society, as well as the ever-changing technological world in which they live. In a recent speech, the Honorable Carolyn Bennett, Minister of Health and Addictions and the Associate Minister of Health, stated, "Our government recognizes that the pandemic has added greatly to the pre-existing mental health and substance use challenges that many students and young people face. This is especially true for marginalized and racialized young adults. As such, it is no surprise that mental health issues such as depression and anxiety are becoming increasingly common among youth in our city. Despite the prevalence of mental health issues among our youth, there is still a significant lack of mental health support and services in Brampton. I have seen firsthand the suffering of children, youth, and families with unmet emotional and mental health needs. Sadly, this stigma relegates many who are suffering to suffer in silence, so unless you've lived through it, it's difficult to truly appreciate the depths of despair and helplessness parents and caregivers feel when their children struggle with mental health challenges and are unable to access professional help that they desperately need. I witnessed firsthand when a former colleague lost her 15-year-old son due to suicide. A friend's son lost his 18-year-old classmate due to suicide. A neighbor's child whose episodic illness disrupted her ability to attend school regularly, derailing her dreams for a brighter future. These are just a few examples of families that have been directly harmed by inadequate access to timely and responsive emotional and mental health supports. In addition to anecdotal experiences, research indicates that mental health issues in children and young people in Peel region are on the rise and and was hitting a crisis point prior to COVID. Suicide, self-harm have increased significantly among female youth under 24. Due to limited access to mental health supports for youth, students are turning to their teachers and administrative staff for support, but such staff lack the professional training to address or keep up with the demand for support. Currently, the Peel District School Board does not adequately provide psychological mental health services or access support for students in crisis. While Mississauga has a youth hub in Malton, which provides youth with access to mental health support, Brampton does not have a similar service.
Carla, you have 1 minute.
While the lack of comprehensive mental health services in the region of Peel can be attributed to various factors, the lack of adequate funding is precipitant. The region of Peel is chronically underfunded for mental health support, receiving significantly less per capita, and we know funding matters. According to the Mental Health Commission of Canada, 2/3 of young adults living with mental health problems or illness report that their symptoms first appear when they were children. This makes child and youth issues an especially important topic on mental health. It also means that failure to provide early intervention to children, youth, and families is not only a missed opportunity, it is setting up future generations for failure. By providing adequate funding, increasing access to mental health professionals, and decreasing the stigma associated with mental health, we can ensure that our youth have access to the help they need. Targeted action to improve child and youth mental health can create a stronger, healthier, more resilient, and more compassionate society. Thank you for your time and attention. I urge you to support the motion, which calls for the City of Brampton to partner with the school boards to fund and operationalize a comprehensive, accessible, and age-appropriate mental health support and services for all children, youth, and families in the City of Brampton.
Thank you so much, Carla, and thank you again, Kathy. We have questions from Council, Councillor Palleschi, followed by Councillor Brar.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Kathy and Carla, Councillor Santos and I, when we worked on this motion, we kind of discussed who would be good cop and who'd be bad cop, and I got the short end of the stick, and I'm going to be a little bit of the bad cop. But I'll start by saying, Kathy, you know I love you. You know, I think you're an amazing school board trustee. I'm so happy that Carla is on the school board. If I could clone the both of you and fill out the rest of the boards with the two of you, I think we would be in a better place. That being said, last year I had to take my daughter out of the public system because they didn't have support, and I moved her into the Catholic system because they did. As of yesterday, I took my other daughter out of the public system, and I'll be moving her into the Catholic system because they have support. The public system hasn't raised their taxes in years, decades even, and I don't understand why. Me on this side of it, I don't understand what, and I've been very public, that I don't even know if the school boards should exist. And I think you've heard me say that before. And these are some of those reasons. When I hear Brampton Minor Lacrosse has a program that they want to bring to the public system free with an Indigenous component, they've gone to the school board. The school board says that they have to go to each individual schools, and then they go to the schools and say that you have to go to and get the okay from the school board. There's confusion. I hear a lot about our staff having good relationships with the school boards and trying to move things forward in terms of the asset side of things, but I also hear some of the difficulty and some of the challenges that we have. We 100% need a better relationship, but I also need to know where's the holdup? Why do I have to remove my children from the public system and put them into the Catholic system? Because I feel like they do have the support, especially for mental health. That's what I need to understand.
Okay, so I'm sorry that you felt this way. And I will say that we have just recently come out of supervision and we have a new board. So I'm hopeful that now that our trustees, for example, have all gone through comprehensive understanding of what it is for governance, and the new trustees are being trained in their role as trustees. And I think also with a new director at the helm, who is, she has about a year and a bit, right, in the role. I'm really positive that these, and I will bring back this feedback to the Director of Education and my colleagues, what I heard from you today. And we are working at improving, and minimizing, situations where parents feel unheard and unsupported. So I would definitely, and even with permits too, I'll bring back that feedback to them.
Kathy, I feel like sometimes, members of council may or may not feel this way, but at the city of Brampton, we have a certain level of power to make change. And I've always felt that school board trustees don't have power. And I don't understand what that is, because you are an unbelievable person and you have some fantastic ideas to make change and to make that power, but I don't understand. And maybe that's a political question and you don't really need to answer it. But how can we, and I hope that this motion drives that direction to say that we're in this together, whatever we can do to support each other for our children, we need to do. And I know what we're doing at the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan, I sit on it. I know what we're doing at the Situation Table, I sit on it. I want a better working relationship between the school boards and whatever support you need, and Carla, you need, so that we can make the change for the betterment of our kids. Then I'm here. I want to be able to help, and I think council will, supporting this motion, show that to you as well.
Yeah, and thank you. I really appreciate your feedback, and I bring it back. And just to be clear, I'm not here speaking on behalf of the board, right? Because that's the role of the chair. But I'm speaking as a concerned parent, right? But I will take the feedback I have received to the powers that be back at the board.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pelletier. Councillor Brar.
And thank you, Carla, for that delegation. And thank you, Councillor Santos, for bringing this up. This is so important, and I definitely agree with Councillor Pelletier. There's a lot of parents that feel helpless, and I think we need to bridge that gap, especially with social media influences, and the pressure on children is greater than ever before. So making sure, how can we bring this awareness to our schools, but how can the children feel comfortable? I think one thing is bringing this awareness, but we want children to feel comfortable talking about mental health and in groups and individually. So sometimes I know a lot of parents mistakenly mistake symptoms of low appetite or not falling asleep for other health issues, but these are related to mental health issues, and I think we need to bring parents together to bring this awareness. And I think a lot of our children are slipping through the cracks, and how can we deal with this? Thank you.
So I know, for example, that Minister Lecce at the Ministry of Education, they have updated the curriculum, and they are increasing even the age at which conversations around social media and digital literacy and that type of information is disseminated to students. So I know, because it's such a multifaceted, there's so many areas to it. So at the school board level, I know, for example, they're working at the curriculum level. Also, in getting community engagement, there are a lot of discussions about getting back some of these programs to get kids, at-risk kids especially, active. I think, one of the things I'm hoping to get out of this partnership too is there are, for example, concerns, I know at the school board level, that parents have, that administration have and staff has with regards to housing. So where are refugees houses or emergency housing situations located? Because there are situations where they are really unsatisfactory living environment that at risk and peoples that are marginalized by community are put to live. And it's like, a known high-risk environment where we have vulnerable people, especially, for example, refugees who have unknown traumas, some of them that we're not even aware of. And there's some horrific situations that I've come across in my community work. And, I think if we look at, for example, just simply where we place kids, I think that's a huge, huge aspect too, and how And even a simple thing like bail reform, because a lot of times too, perpetrators who have committed crimes, they get out on bail and they go right back into the criminal activity. So that's why it is such a far-reaching initiative. And I think every aspect of levels of government, I think like the region, the police, community groups need to be involved to truly tackle this problem, because it's, you know, it has so many prongs.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and permission for the chair to speak on the discussion item and bring forward the motion. Thank you, Councillor Medeiros. So Kathy and Carla, thank you very much, and both of you, including Councillor Palashi and some colleagues as well as city staff, together helped to put the motion. And I just want to share that while we proclaim today is Pink Shirt Day, talking about anti-bullying and the mental health impacts for young people with respect to bullying, today is also Human Trafficking Awareness Day. And as we see an escalation of mental health issues, whether that's eating disorders or self-harm and cutting, or attempts for suicide and depression and anxiety increasing, particularly amongst young women under the age of 14, they become more vulnerable to human trafficking with mental health issues. And so, again, as we approach International Women's Day, and also as we see a mental health youth crisis with our youth across the entire country. In fact, it's looping right now on CP24 and on media channels, the various issues that various cities are experiencing with respect to mental health. I think that this motion is timely. I'm going to share that it first started 3 years ago in February of 2020, when a principal from a local school reached out to me and shared a story that there was a student in grade 7 who nearly threw himself over the second floor staircase, and he was a foster child of a double murder suicide. And that prompted myself, Councillor Vicente, as well as Mayor Brown, to host a roundtable discussion. Kathy, you were there, as well as principals, vice principals, staff, and teachers who were all sharing similar stories pre-pandemic. And we were going to take action back then, pre-pandemic, and then in March 2020, COVID hit. And unfortunately, the situation got even worse because we were already at a very difficult starting point when it came to chronic underfunding and services for our youth, let alone in a world, in a pandemic where they were now isolated at home, away from their friends, and having more and more screen time because they had no other choice but to stay home. And I'm going to share, there's correspondence that relates to this particular discussion item, and I'm going to share just a little bit of how the situation has gotten worse from the principal who shared some examples. A grade 7 student who previously disclosed suicidal ideation and a plan is now disclosing that he researches about specific firearms, mass shootings, and the motives of the shooters. He expresses relating to said motives and sees himself purchasing a firearm in the future and committing a similar act of violence. We are seeing more and more violence in our schools. Just last week we saw in the Toronto District School Board there was a shooting that happened at the school itself. Another issue is on gender identity issues. A grade 7 student who identifies to us as non-binary with pronouns they and them, who has not yet been told their parents, disclosed to the school staff that they have been self-harming over the past 2 weeks and displayed multiple deep cuts on their arms and disclosed more on their thighs. This is becoming more and more of a regular occurrence, and I know, looking at your face of concern, it's not just one story, it's completely across the entire city in all of our schools. And unfortunately, because of the chronic underfunding and servicing, our teachers and our principals and vice principals are the ones who are having to deal with these crises. 3 years later, we're now in February 2020. Last week, February 15th, the Peel District School Board hosted an advisory committee group of parents, of which I signed myself up, to help develop a mental health and well-being plan and strategy for specifically the school board. And in that meeting, it was openly discussed that there is a lack of collaboration with other levels of government when it comes to the school board's efforts to deal with mental health and well-being. And so in the motion that is going to be coming forward, we're also going to be talking about the city inserting ourselves in that process so that we could find synergies within the programs that exist in our city in order to help the students in need. But again, the board has to be willing to participate. And I'm not saying the trustees, I'm actually talking about the staff. The board staff have to be willing to cooperate when it comes to this issue and take some serious action. And on that note, to Councillor Paleshi's point, we will be submitting clips of this discussion today as part of a delegation to the board on March the 8th. There is a meeting, and we've submitted a delegation form, and we're going to be submitting a video delegation to reach out as an olive branch in order to create that collaboration. So now I'm just going to bring forward, and thank you, Carla and Kathy. I don't have any specific further questions. We're going to bring forward the motion now. I am going to...
And excuse me?
Yeah?
Sorry, through you, if you could indulge me, if I may, because two things popped into my head as you're speaking with regards to when you're addressing the issues that the principal stated. And I think to show how multifaceted this issue is also, I think it's important, for example, to help in terms of with community groups to take away the stigma of mental health, because a lot of people don't talk about it. It's almost like we don't talk about Bruno, they don't speak about it, right? And also when you think of, again, this which is totally outside of, let's say, the school board and probably the city and why it's so important to have partnership. In the case of my son's friend, you know, he's the son of two doctors, well-respected doctors in Toronto, and you'd figure, you know, his life is made imperfect. But he had a friend online, and again, we need to even go further to look at regulations and regulating that vast media, right? Because right now on the free speech, people can contact young, innocent minds that are so malleable, and they can encourage them to kill themselves, right? So again, there's so many areas of this complex issue that we need to tackle, because even like, you know, who regulates doing that? Because to me, it should be a crime for you to lure a young, you know, 17-year-old to kill themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. And on that note, Kathy, you also reminded me one thing that I forgot to mention. Algoma University, I spoke to the president, Asma Vesna, and they are planning to bring forward an Institute for Mental Health and Addictions Research and Training Institute here in Brampton, and are willing to collaborate with the city as well as the school board in order to provide more support and services through that institute. Yeah. So that's some good news and hope at the end of the tunnel as well. So the motion has a number of whereases, which I'm not going to read because we've pretty much covered it throughout our debate and discussion today. We'll go straight to the therefore be it resolved. Therefore be it resolved, number one, the city engaged in the following advocacy measures. Mayor, on behalf of council, write letters to the federal and provincial ministers of mental health and addictions, and CC the Peel District School Board and Dufferin Peel Catholic School Board, Regional Council, and local MPPs and MPs regarding the need for increased mental health funding and support for youth in Brampton, and that the letter include a link to this agenda item, this motion, and related correspondence in the agenda. A meeting be scheduled with Minister Tibolo, school board trustees, mayor, and members of council regarding mental health support for youth in Brampton. I turn to GR for that one. Council advocate to the Peel District School Board to collaborate with the city, region, and social support agencies in order to improve immediate mental health support needs for youth in Brampton. Council advocate to Minister Tibolo and school boards to implement a model of mental health support similar to Upper Grand School Board, where they actually have trained mental health workers allocated to schools, especially for those most in need and in crisis. They actually have a psychological and mental health program at that particular school board. Council advocate to the region of Peel to enhance communication related to access to the region's community response or situation table so schools can access immediate support for youth in crisis, as mentioned by Councillor Paleshi. A meeting be scheduled with the region of Peel Community Safety and Well-being. Sorry, I'm now going to scroll down. Somebody scroll down. A meeting be scheduled with the Region of Peel Community Safety and Wellbeing Executive Leadership members, that's Councillor Peleshi and crew, and the school boards to discuss opportunities for collaboration at the Community Safety and Wellbeing Mental Health and Addictions Action Table. Possible collaboration with the CSWB System Leadership Table, Algoma University, and other relevant stakeholders to host a youth mental health summit or roundtable in Brampton. And number 2, the city action the following. Our Community Safety and Wellbeing Office join the Peel District School Board's planning process in the development of their mental health strategy, which, as I mentioned, is happening right now, and also provide an update on Brampton's youth hubs and support/programming related to youth mental health. And indeed, on that last point, Brampton is going to have 2 youth hubs. We've spoken to staff about incorporating some mental health support and programming, as well as today there are 2 items on the agenda: exploring Brampton Youth Pass, which is supporting our young people, as well as our youth employment and engagement strategy. So there are a number of things that we can find synergies with the board as they develop their own mental health and well-being plan. So that is the motion. Thank you very much for everyone for participating in creating the motion, and I'll ask for a recorded vote on this one.
Recorded vote's been requested. All members in favor, please stand to be counted. Showing in favor is Councillor Vicente, Councillor Brar, Councillor Peleshi, Councillor Keenan, Chair Santos, Councillor Medeiros, Councillor Power, Councillor Fortini, Mayor Brown, Councillor Tor. Councillor Singh, how do you vote? Councillor Singh? Councillor Singh, how do you vote? Councillor Singh is present, but so it'll be marked as absent. The motion carries 10-0 with 1 absence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. Our next item on the agenda is, we also have to receive the delegation, right? Motion to receive the delegation from Councillor Peleshi. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. Our next item for delegation is 6.6, a delegation from Alain Bolduc, owner and VP Sales, Urban Blue Inc., regarding 12.2.4 self-sustaining public washrooms in all wards. We also have the related item 12.2.4 on today's agenda, which we can deal with after the delegation. Welcome, Alain. You have up to 5 minutes.
Well, actually, it's just to follow up on the meeting we had all together in December. Just want to make sure that nobody have more questions, so that's why I make myself available. So it's just for question period for people who were there when we do the presentation.
Okay, so there are no questions for. Oh, there is a question, Councillor. No question for the delegation, Councillor. Okay, thank you very much. So we have now. Thank you, Alain. There are no questions from Council. Councillor Vicente, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So having read the reports and understanding what staff would like to do, I'm happy to move the reports in receipt of the delegation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vicente. Motion from Councillor Vicente to move the report. Any objections? That carries. All right, we're moving fast. Item number 7, government relations. We have Chris from the CAO's office with a presentation for Committee on Government Relations Matters. Chris, welcome. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you and good morning. Through the chair, start with the regional agenda overview. Next slide, please, Sharon. Thank you. Staff have reviewed the regional agenda and reached out to departments for feedback and comments. Next slide, please. We begin with item 8.1, a staff presentation on infrastructure planning to support Bill 23 housing targets. The presentation only became available last evening, so staff is limited in their analysis at this point. But some highlights from the presentation point out that the provincial housing targets are nearly 2.5 times above the region appeal housing forecast. The cost to achieve the provincial housing target is over double the 10-year Peel capital budget and is estimated at approximately $20 billion, not including the cost of property acquisition and other soft costs. Brampton has also raised the issue of the supporting infrastructure required to meet our provincial housing targets. The city continues to emphasize the need for provincial infrastructure funding to enable and support housing development, including transit, roads, water, and wastewater infrastructure. Staff will work to provide council with further analysis on this matter. Next slide, please. Next, we have item 8.2, the role of the Region of Peel and Peel Housing Corporation and Peel's affordable housing system. This for information staff report and presentation provide an overview of the role of the region and Peel Housing Corporation and the affordable housing system. Housing Brampton, the city's housing strategy, aligns with the targets identified in the 10-year housing and homelessness plan, recognizing the role of the region and building a suite of actions and deliverables for the city to support Brampton's growing housing challenges. With approximately 17% of Brampton residents living in core housing need, unaffordable, inadequate, or unsuitable housing, city staff recognize the growing need for more supportive housing, subsidized housing, and affordable housing units in Brampton. Staff support the review of the housing needs analysis and current service levels to support the growing housing needs of Brampton residents. As the region is only able to meet approximately 30% of the need, additional funding, partnerships, collaboration, and innovative approaches are required. In Brampton's 2023 pre-budget submission, the city calls on the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to work with Brampton and the Region of Peel to explore all available tools, innovations, and opportunities to deliver affordable housing options, including affordable ownership options and purpose-built rental units, to meet the diverse housing needs of all of Brampton residents. Next slide, please. Next item I want to flag is 9.2, a recommendation report titled Residential Rat Control Subsidy Pilot Program Update. This program was launched in March 2021 for a period of 12 months, along with a rodent abatement program on construction sites. In March 2022, the Regional Council extended the program until November 30th, 2022. The city has promoted the program to increase public awareness to our residents. In this report, regional staff recommend that the program end due to low uptake and associated program costs, which were $327,800 in 2022. In response to this staff report, I want to highlight item 20.1 on tomorrow's regional agenda, which is a motion that goes against this staff recommendation and asks for a program extension until December 31st, 2023 on the basis of the pandemic impacting program update and program design not meeting the needs of residents. Next slide, please. Item 13.3, a recommendation report entitled Homelessness Prevention Program, Service Providers Agreement, seeks council approval to extend agreements valued at roughly $2.6 million with existing service providers to continue providing services under the Homelessness Prevention Program. Staff point out the current agreements with some service providers under this program will expire on March 31st, 2023. Staff support the report recommendations. However, the report lacks detail on how the remaining $180,465 would be distributed. Next slide, please. The last item on the regional agenda we want to bring to your attention is item 13.4, a for information report titled Inclusionary Zoning Administration Update. The report indicates that work on the inclusionary zoning program administration is paused given the uncertainties associated with Bill 23. The city continues to work in collaboration with the Region of Peel in developing Brampton's first inclusionary zoning framework. City staff await further information coming from the new inclusionary zoning regulation as outlined through Bill 23, and will provide an update to council advising of the changes to the inclusionary zoning when more information is available. Next slide, please. In other matters relating to Peel Region, I want to flag for council a motion and discussion that took place at the City of Mississauga Council meeting last week. Mayor Crombie introduced a motion that reaffirmed Mississauga Council's position that Mississauga should become a single-tier municipality independent of the region of Peel, with current municipal borders. The motion also includes opposition to the amalgamation of the City of Mississauga with any other municipality. The motion passed at Mississauga Council. Next slide, please. Moving on to provincial updates, I won't go into detail on this as we had a great presentation earlier, but last week's announcement at Magna is a great win and will create roughly 560 new jobs. I will highlight the province provided $23.6 million in funding through Invest Ontario in this. Next slide, please. In other provincial updates, the province published its 2022-2023 third quarter finances. The document provides a window into the province's financial standing. The provincial GDP is estimated to have increased by 3.7% in 2022, and the deficit is projected to be $6.5 billion in 2022-23. Staff will monitor for further funding and policy announcements ahead of the upcoming budget. Next slide, please. On February 10th, the Federal Minister of Public Safety was in Mississauga to announce up to $8.1 million from the Building Safer Communities Fund to prevent gun crime and gang violence in Peel. This funding will help address the underlying conditions that give rise to crime. The region will distribute the funding to community-led projects for young people involved in gangs or at risk of joining them. Staff will monitor the rollout of this program. Next slide, please. Just want to provide a reminder of the upcoming meeting with Brampton members of Parliament this coming Friday, February 24th. This is an opportunity to discuss Brampton's 2023 pre-budget submission, highlight key initiatives, and advance our good working relationship with both levels of government. Next slide, please. Speaking of pre-budget submissions, I want to highlight AMO's 2023 pre-budget submission. The document touches on key municipal priorities in line with Brampton's advocacy work, such as a collaborative approach to the implementation of Bill 23, municipal fiscal sustainability, the need for urgent action on homelessness, and funding of critical infrastructure. Staff will continue to work collaboratively with AMO to ensure we advocate effectively and work with the province to address our shared priorities. Next slide, please. This slide provides an overview and a reminder of FCM's key budget recommendations. I won't speak to it in great detail as we flagged this information over past council meetings. It does, however, demonstrate some of the shared advocacy positions between FCM and the city, such as housing funding for sustainable infrastructure and transit, just to name a few. Brampton's 2023 federal pre-budget submission speaks to many of the priorities identified by FCM. I also want to mention that Brampton's federal and provincial pre-budget submissions are attached to this presentation. And we have nice printed copies that are available now. I want to extend thanks to the City Department staff and Strategic Communications for their contributions to the development of these important advocacy materials. And that concludes today's presentation.
Thank you so much, Chris. We have questions from members of council, Councillor Pelleschi and Councillor Vicente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Chris, with the regional report on the servicing just coming late last night, we fully don't understand. I think it's, what is it, 6 slides? Yes. Not much detail in there, a couple dollar figures thrown out. I guess going into tomorrow, would we need more time to dissect that report, to try and get more information? If so, to keep it onto the next agenda, then I think we're probably better served to refer that back to staff, just to have that, refer it back to staff, send it to the municipalities, to have us, give us the ability to kind of dissect it a little bit more and keep it on the agenda for next time, because you obviously have questions, I think.
Yeah, through the chair, through to Councillor Palashi. Yeah, staff only received the presentation late yesterday evening and haven't had a chance to go through it in detail. It's a little bit more than 6 slides, but in essence, it touches on the costing implications to Bill 23, as Chris indicated, $20 billion across the entire region, excluding property acquisition. Staff at this time have not had an opportunity to discuss with the region how much of that $20 billion would be apportionate to the city of Brampton, and then the funding source of that $20 billion infrastructure cost in light of the changes to eligible DC costs through Bill 23. The presentation that will be before you tomorrow at Regional Council is an oral update, as Chris indicated, and it does highlight a bit of a work plan from the region to work with staff across all, I guess, 4 municipalities to unpack this and update their master plans. Certainly, I, and along with my colleagues across the organization, would benefit for some additional time with regional staff to understand some of the analysis that went into the presentation before it comes before Regional Council.
Okay, so I don't mind tomorrow if, you know, I have some questions. Obviously, land acquisition is massive. Like if we don't have that number, plus the, you know, who pays for what, servicing, we need that, and ultimately we need to know which municipality is paying for what does it mean for the city of Brampton, obviously. With that all being said, I find it really hard to believe that a municipality would take a stance on the direction they want to go with not knowing all of the information. I find it, you know, I don't think the city of Brampton would ever do that. I don't know, as a politician, why you would take a stance without knowing kind of everything. So, which leads me to believe, I guess the only conclusion that I have is Mississauga may already have all the information. Do we know that? Have they had discussions in public about, you know, what the cost is going to be with separation? Or do we know if they've had those discussions, and are they allowed to have those discussions in camera?
Through the chair, I'm not aware of any discussions that Mississauga members of council or staff may have had with respect to financial implications of their separation.
And we would know if they did?
Through the chair, I would like to think so, but I can't comment on that at this time.
Mm-hmm. Are they allowed to have those discussions in camera?
Through you, Chair Santos, Mississauga is entitled to meet in closed session just as Brampton is for the reasons set out in the Municipal Act. I don't want to speculate what reasons may be, if in fact, and I don't know if there are conversations occurring in closed session, but there may be some that security of the property of the municipality, negotiation matters that may come to mind depending on specifically what items that municipality may be speaking about. But I'm just speculating.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair. So just, Madam Chair, and for regional councillors, I have some questions for tomorrow, and then I ask one of my regional councillor colleagues to potentially move a referral based on some of those questions. Although regional council is a little bit different, I might be able to ask questions and then refer. I always forget, so.
Thank you, Councillor Palashi. Councillor Vicente.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Members of committee sent an email late last night with a motion this motion was put together by myself, Councillor Palashi, and staff, including staff from planning, to ask staff to work closely with our friends at AMO to draw more attention through AMO to the challenges with respect to planning that Bill 23 that we see Bill 23 is creating for us. And so I'll ask the clerk to display the motion, and I won't go through the whereases, but fully understanding that with Bill 23 and the accelerated number of units that we are looking to have built just in the city of Brampton, as Chris mentioned, almost 3 times our yearly average. And knowing that the DC revenues will be absent from us and not fully understanding yet how the province will make us whole, we're at the same time, while we're looking at that, realizing that if we're going to achieve these targets, where is the infrastructure that we will need to provide? We have a number of initiatives, particularly here in the city of Brampton, with respect to transit, Riverwalk, et cetera, hospital, healthcare. If we're going to be adding 118,000 new additional units, we need to build the services that wrap around those new residents. So asking for your consideration that the City of Brampton work more closely with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario to advocate and work collaboratively with the Government of Ontario to ensure that municipalities are made whole. We understand this and suffer no additional financial burden from impacts related to the implementation of Bill 23 and higher housing targets, and that the province consider changes to the Planning Act that require applicants to make submissions for building permits in a defined time where land use approvals are achieved to ensure all development partners are committed to the expedited growth targets, and that the province work collaboratively with municipalities to assess, expedite, approve, and fund critical infrastructure and services needed to support expedited growth, including wastewater and water, allocation services, community services such as recreation and public safety, transit projects, active transportation infrastructure to support complete and connected communities sustainably, and efforts to support a healthy population. And Chris did mention that they will be working with AMO, but this gives clear direction. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a motion moved by Councillor Vicente. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, Chris, for the update, as always. Councillor Paleshi, you had some questions about the region for tomorrow, or you're good? Oh, this is at the region tomorrow. At the region. Wonderful. Motion moved by Councillor Paleshi to receive the presentation from staff. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you so much. And Mr. Clerk, I just received a message from Councillor Singh, who was having technical difficulties earlier in that previous vote that was recorded on youth mental health. Councillor Singh, are you there now?
Yes, I am. Thank you. If I could just be present and vote in favor. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we'll record that as Councillor Singh in favor. Thank you very much, Councillor Singh. Our next item on the agenda is legislative services, and all items were put into consent. So that brings us to Councillor question period. Do any members have any questions regarding the legislative services section? Seeing none. Next item is public question period on this section. Mr. Clerk, are there any questions online or anyone in the gallery today?
Through you, Chair Santos, there are none online and nobody in the gallery.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That concludes the section on legislative services. I will now hand it over to Chair Tour, who will chair the next section on economic development.
So our next item is 9.1.1, a staff presentation regarding the advanced manufacturing update. Presenting today is Andrea Williams, Sector Manager for Advanced Manufacturing and Economic Development. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you, Councillor Tour. Good morning, members of Council and CLT. My name is Andrea Williams, and I've joined you today to give you a quick update on the work we've been doing within Brampton's advanced manufacturing sector. Next slide, please. In July of 2022, I was hired as the sector manager, so I'm still fairly new to the role, as are many of the faces that I'm seeing here today. Although I'm not new to the city of Brampton, I've been employed for about 15 years, and I've had the pleasure of building amazing relationships with so many people across the corporation, which has helped me tremendously in supporting our business community. The work that our team is doing within business retention and expansion is the springboard for everything we do, and every business who provides feedback is as important as the next. I've had the pleasure of visiting more than 30 businesses over the last 6 months and have gained valuable insight on the manufacturing that exists in our city. The first photo that you see was taken at Faurecia. They employ 155 full-time staff and have $130 million in sales in their Brampton plant alone. Globally, they are known in 35 countries and have 150,000 employees worldwide. Matt Korematsu, another big player in the auto industry with 350 full-time staff, and their head office here in Brampton. They are a tier 1 auto supplier pushing out 27 million parts per year. And ABB Robotics is the largest supplier of drives and motors globally with 32 locations. Their Brampton plant employs 100 full-time staff and are a huge supplier to MDA. Recently, they have seen a shift in their projects as a result of the EV transition. And Armacell, known for manufacturing the famous pool noodle, develops component foams in aero, rail, and auto. They have 2 facilities in Brampton, employing 150 full-time staff with 24 plants in 16 other countries. Next slide, please. IKO Industries is a pioneer and leader in the global roofing industry, first established here in Brampton in 1959, and recently, over the past 5 years, have made more than $150 million investment in redeveloping their manufacturing site. Also, A. Berger has been in Brampton since 1955 with 140 full-time staff and have plans of continued growth over the next 5 years. In Brampton alone, they have $30 million in sales, making high-precision auto parts. It started out as a family-run business and now has grown to 11 plants in 5 countries. Next slide, please. We also spend some time visiting some of the Magna facilities in Brampton, which is how we became connected to the first announcer this morning, Misty Rice. Magna is a Canadian parts manufacturer for automakers and is the largest auto parts supplier in North America. We are proud that in Brampton, there are 8 Magna facilities, soon to be 9, employing more than 2,000 people. And Nahani Steel, sorry, I think the slides are a little, there we go, go down a little bit, perfect. Nahani Steel was another special visit that showcased 65 full-time employees by hanging 22 flags from their rafters, highlighting the diversity that exists within their business as a result of being here in Brampton. Next slide. Those were only a few of my visits, but you'll note most were focused on the automotive subsector, and it's significant to highlight for 2 reasons. 23% of Brampton's manufacturing talent pool is in the automotive industry, and second, we are undergoing a transitional period producing more electric vehicles as we work towards a goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. The automotive assets that exist in Brampton are unique. We are part of the highest quality vehicle producing province across the globe, and as such, work is being done to help shape its future. As a result of our business visits, we connected with the Ontario Vehicle Innovation Network, OVIN, and hosted their first stop in the 2023 Ontario Roadshow. Our objective was to ensure that Brampton is part of the conversation and that the province showcases the work that we are doing with secondary and post-secondary. Next slide, please. Our team has continued to remain active with many of the businesses that we've visited by setting up follow-up meetings, organizing podcasts for our partners, and setting up profile videos with strategic communications. We've also provided connections to local post-secondary institutions or provincial resources in their search for talent or funding. Next slide, please. Our continued support provides answers or contacts within the corporation to support expansions, permit inquiries, development charges, traffic and safety concerns, and connections within the business community. Many of these follow-ups consist of monthly meetings to ensure progress is moving forward in the right direction, and one of the projects we have been diligently working on since September of last year will soon announce its investment. So stay tuned for that one. Next slide. I should also mention the important work that's being done around FDI. We are part of the Site Selectors Guild Partner Program and are also members of the Ontario Manufacturing Alliance and the Next Generation Manufacturing Canada, which gives staff an opportunity to participate in globally renowned trade shows and provides access to emerging trends. In 2023, we have plans to actively engage with all 3 of these organizations, helping us build a stronger competitive economy in Brampton. Next slide, please. So what I hope you take away from this presentation is that every photo that I posted or that I shared tells a story. It creates a personal connection from the city to the businesses. It highlights our contribution and what these clients are gaining from the municipality is huge. And it also fosters positive relationships that we've built to ensure that they stay here and they expand here in Brampton. So I look forward to continuing to update you on plans as we move forward into 2023. But as you can see, it's been a great start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Do any councillors have any questions or comments? Andrea, I'd like to ask you a question. From the last business visit that we just did was at Surveillant. And when we were talking to them, they were talking about how they have jobs, but they don't have people to fill those jobs. Like they don't receive enough applications. Do you find that across other visits that you've done in your sector, if that's the same case?
Yeah, actually, that's the biggest theme across all of the businesses that we visited. Labor shortage is huge. 80% of the manufacturing sector is seeing such a huge gap, and the skill shortage is something that they're very aware of. I read something not too long ago that from 2019 to 2028, they're expecting to see 700,000 people leave the workforce as a result of retirement. And so these businesses have no idea where they're going to get their next welder or their machinist. And so that's a big part of the work that we're going to be doing this year, is really focusing in on how we can kind of support that talent pipeline with our existing assets through Sheridan, Magna Skilled Trades, and Oven as well. They're doing a lot in the automotive manufacturing sector. So definitely a good question. Thank you.
So if we can look into an opportunity where, the city of Brampton, working with area councillors where these businesses are, or where they're looking to hire in different parts of the city, if we can, if there's interest from these companies to host a joint job fair alongside the city, if that is something we can do in the spring or in the summer, whenever the opportunity comes, if we can please look into that. If you can canvass all the businesses that you're talking to. If there's an interest in that, I think that would be a good opportunity, and we can do that across the city.
Yes, thank you for that. We've definitely explored that. We are considering it in the coming months. And we're also working with the Board of Trade to host an event specific to talent, to highlight the resources that are available, that do exist, because I think they're not aware. They don't know what's out there. And so we really want to bring people together. And that's one of the big pieces that we've learned through these business visits, is that they want to be more immersed in the local community, and they want to know what they can do to support and lift each other up. So definitely looking into that. Thank you.
Yeah, it just comes from because a lot of people reach out to us, and I'm sure my colleagues as well, where people reach out and say, I know a person or someone in my family is so qualified for a job like this, but they're not able to find one. We hear that problem on the ground, but then we hear from the businesses that they aren't able to fill jobs. So if that's a good opportunity, I think we should pursue it in the future. I would say if there's no more speakers on this, thank you, Andrea. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Medeiros to approve the staff report. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none. Thank you. The motion carries. Our next item is 9.5, councillor question period.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, there was the added item 9.3.1 from Councillor Keenan regarding the BIA boundary.
My apologies. Okay, we'll go to that. Discussion at the request of Councillor Keenan. You have the floor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. As a new councillor on the BIA, we've been having a lot of discussions with the businesses and some of the people in the area about looking at the boundaries and seeing where it may make sense to shift and move them. There's some businesses that want to be included that are just outside. So I do have a motion here, which is just to direct staff to look at what's required for us to move those boundaries. So yeah, that's pretty simple in what it is. So if we could just go ahead and have this motion voted on.
Okay. Peter, would you like to read the motion out loud?
For you, Mr. Chair, certainly. That's the will of council. So whereas, moved by Councillor Keenan, whereas the downtown Brampton Business Improvement Area, BIA boundary, delineates the landowners and businesses that make up the BIA membership, and whereas the municipality may alter the boundaries of a business improvement area from time to time based on feedback from the membership of the BIA and in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Act. Therefore, be it resolved, the staff report back to council on the steps required to adjust the downtown Brampton BIA boundary, potentially with suggestions on revisions to such boundary in consultation with the BIA.
Perfect. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Guess now we can move on to question period. Our next item is 9.5, council question period for this section of the agenda. Do any members have any questions regarding the economic development section? Seeing there are none. 9.6, a public question period. If any members of the public have any questions regarding this section.
And through you, Mr. Chair, there are no questions submitted online.
Okay, seeing none, I guess we will move on. And are we moving to corporate services? Okay, so I'll now pass the chair to Vice Chair. Okay, Councilor Broad for corporate services section. Thank you.
So on corporate service section, our next item is 10.2.2, a staff report titled Youth Employment and Engagement 2023 Update, which was held by Councillor Tour. Councillor Tour, you have the floor.
My apologies. So my apologies. I got mixed with this one, and I think the item comes after this, probably 12 point something. So I had a mix up between this and that one. That was the pilot project.
So through you, Chair Brar, so Councillor Tour, you held 10.2.2, which was the Youth Employment and Engagement 2023 update. You're saying it was another item that you...
That was an error. There was another item further down. Don't have it in front of me right now. Regarding it was the pilot project for transit and recreation.
There is the Youth Pass pilot program
Yeah.
for transit. That was 12.2.1. That was held for possible delegations. There were none, and it was adopted.
Yeah. So this was a mix-up for that. So I'll take this back.
You know what, I'm going to speak to this briefly since you held it.
Sure.
Just to say, I think this is a great idea. I'm glad that we're looking at formalizing our youth employment and engagement, and I think this is going a great direction. The only thing I would just say, and I think it'd be helpful, is when youth are going through this summer student internship, and we get great support from the federal government on this, I just hope there's incorporated regular learning opportunities. So I've seen this set up in the federal and provincial government where there'll be like a weekly speaker, or maybe every 2 weeks you have a speaker for 1 hour. It could be on a lunch break where the summer students come together, and you could hear from a commissioner. You could hear from a councillor. And Councillor Tour is, he likes to remind me regularly, he's the youngest city councillor. There's an example of, how can we mentor local youth who have aspirations to be a public servant? And so I think that lunch and learn for summer students, make sure that it's a mentoring and learning 4 months with the city. And I think if you have those, we talked about this a few years ago, but just if you could incorporate that speaker series and a little bit of more mentorship into that internship, I think it would be valuable to those, future leaders in our community. Is that sort of what was envisioned, or is? Yeah.
To the mayor, exactly it. We talked about lunch and learn, speaker series, mentorship programs.
Okay, perfect.
Leadership speaking.
Yeah, okay, wonderful.
Thank you so much. Are there any more speakers on this item? I have a motion moved by Councillor Tour to approve the staff report. Oh, Councillor Santos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that, I think it's awesome, and Mayor Brown is right in everything that he shared with the lunch and learn sessions. I think what's also important is the way that the interns and co-op students get selected. Oftentimes, some of those who are most at risk and vulnerable they don't have the same opportunities. So if we can find a way to ensure that there is some sort of selection process in place that puts priority on some of those who are more vulnerable, who would otherwise not access such opportunities.
Would staff like to comment?
Yep. Through the chair, and That's a very good point, Councillor Santos. In fact, there are some synergies between your item earlier and this item, especially around employment. And we will be engaging directly through the school.
Councillor Keenan?
Thank you. And just out of curiosity, what age group are we going for when you say we're going to be, sorry, through you, Madam Chair, to the CEO? What age group, or what, is it university students? Are we talking about high school students? What are we talking about?
Through the chair, we're looking at dropping it down to high school.
Including high school?
Including high school.
Yeah, so I'm a product of the co-op program from my high school, and I have been having conversations with some of the co-op teachers. Currently, we still do a co-op program through the businesses that I owned and did own. And I just want to make sure that we are engaging with, because I believe when it comes to the Catholic school board and the public school board, together they can do, someone was going to come to delegate, but they have a program there where it's all funneled through two particular teachers that run the program, and we would give them a list of opportunities, and they would fill that out for the fiscal year, and not just a summer program, but for the entire school year through their co-op programs. But it would be all schools coming together, so I just want to make sure that we capture that opportunity as well.
Through the chair, that program exists and it's currently being offered. We're just going to review it and see if we can tweak it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any more speakers? Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fortini. Sorry.
Through the chair, just to, well, I guess Councillor Keenan, so we're going to be sending this all to the high schools, so they could actually send students to apply?
Through the chair, we'll be reaching out to all the high schools, yes, in the full engagement program.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers? Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Tour to approve the staff report. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Our next item, 10.3.1, was in consent. Our next item is 10.3.2, a discussion item at the request of Mayor Brown regarding auto thefts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Brar. We have done a lot of advocacy on auto thefts. I want to thank Council for supporting those initiatives. I know I've heard the feedback that it's appreciated. This is an area that wasn't getting the attention that it deserved, and we're part of a national conversation now. I can tell you all the big auto manufacturers have now requested a meeting because we're pushing them to do more. And the fact that they've requested meetings, I think, shows that they're very aware that there's more they can do. At the same time, our public safety minister, Marco Mendicino, we already had a meeting with about the CBSA weaknesses that we identified through the Peel Police in terms of the lack of inspections. And so I think we're really, in a positive manner, moving the yardstick forward. And the Peel Police are hosting a summit on March 10th that will hopefully bring chiefs of police and mayors from across the country to Peel Region so we can talk about how the fact that auto thefts have skyrocketed in every major urban hub in Canada to staggering levels. And so I just have a motion to talk about all the different ways that we've discussed we can help combat auto thefts, and I would take this motion to the Auto Thefts Summit on March 10th.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brown. We have a motion. Can we get the clerk to review the motion?
Would you like me to, through you, Chair Brar? So I'll just focus then on the action-oriented. So be it resolved that Brampton City Council encourage the Federal Minister of Transportation to consider exercising his authority under Section 10.5 of the Motor Vehicle Safety Act to order a recall of the vehicles most susceptible to theft via relay attack. And further, Brampton City Council urges the Federal Minister of Community Safety to provide adequate resources to that so that CBSA can inspect every and all containers transiting through ports of Vancouver, Montreal, Halifax, and further that Brampton City Council urge the Minister of Justice to increase the sentencing for summary convictions for auto theft to increase the deterrence for car thieves, and further Brampton Council urges the Ontario Minister of Transportation to make changes to the Highway Traffic Act, enabling police to immediately suspend the driver's license of those charged with auto theft for a period of 90 days, in a similar fashion to DUI charges. And further, Ontario Minister of Transportation be encouraged to alter the curriculum for driving schools and the official MTO driver's handbook to specifically reference methods to prevent auto theft, and further federal, provincial, and municipal policing authorities strengthen human and financial resources to enable better interjurisdictional cooperation in the enforcement and interdiction of auto theft crime rings, and further that insurance companies, in cooperation with the Provincial Ministry of Consumer Commercial Relations, establish a discounted insurance rate premium for consumers who utilize auto theft prevention technology in the furtherance of protecting their individual or fleet vehicles, and further that the Mayor of Brampton be authorized to draft a suitable correspondence to give effect to the actionable clauses of this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Are there any speakers on this item? We do have a motion on the floor by Mayor Brown. Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Our next item is 10.3.3, a discussion item at the request of Mayor Brown regarding Black History Month.
So there was two parts to this. I know there was members of the community that wanted to delegate about this year's Black History Month, but I believe they now wish to delegate next week. But there was one housekeeping item I wanted to do under this item, and that is, I believe the clerk has a motion. Do you, Peter, about Henry Shepherd?
Through you, Chair Brar, to the Mayor. I recall an email, but I don't recall a motion per se.
So we're going to get it sent to you right now, resent. And what it was is 4 years ago, during Black History Month, we did a street naming for the first councillor, first Black city councillor in Brampton history. We had a ceremony with the family at Brampton City Hall, and the street naming hasn't happened yet. The family asked about that, partly because it was waiting for a new street. But there hasn't been a new street identified. So in consultation with the family, they suggested a ceremonial name that would just be adjacent to the street. And I believe there's a motion that's been worked out with city staff and the family that ensures the intent of our motion 4 years ago to celebrate a trailblazer in the community. And we're just trying to track down that motion.
Through you, Chair Brar, to the Mayor and members of the committee. So I apologize. I do have an email here. So I've just sent it to Charlotte. We'll get it on the screen in a moment, but I'll read it out. Presumably it'll be moved by Mayor Brown, whereas the City of Brampton is committed to ensuring the city reflects the diverse cultural mosaic of our community, whereas the City of Brampton recognizes Black History Month as a time of significance, action, and reflection, whereas a motion was passed to Council to name a street after RSM Henry Shepherd, where staff have identified an appropriate street to transform into a ceremonial street. Therefore, be it resolved that Council approve the ceremonial naming of Chapel Street after RSM Henry Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
And just on that note, while it's being put up on the screen, I just want to thank staff. I thought we've had a really, really good program this year for Black History Month. Really impressed with the additional events and a celebration. Whether it's the event at City Hall, the one at Rose Theatre, well done for the city staff that were involved in that.
Thank you. We have a motion on the screen here. Are there any speakers on this item? I have a motion moved by Mayor Brown.
And so on that note, because the second part would be dealt with next week, do we just need to add that the remaining?
Yes.
Through you, Chair Brar. So this item will be going to Council next week, so the discussion on Black History Month. So if a delegation does come in, it will be automatically added to the agenda.
Okay, so there's no additional, okay, good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I have a motion moved by Mayor Brown. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Our next item is 10.5, councillor question period for this section of this agenda. Do any councillors have any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Now we can deal with 10.6, public question period. Are there any public questions?
Through you, Chair Brar, there are none online, and we see none in the chambers.
And I will now pass the chair over to Councillor Vasante to chair the Public Works and Engineering section of the committee agenda. Thank you.
Now going to begin going through the remaining items of the Public Works and Engineering section. First with item 11.2.6, a staff report, request to begin procurement for parking lot repairs at Save Max Sports Center and Cassie Campbell Community Center Phase 2 in Wards 9 and 6. This is held by Councillor Pelletier. Councillor Pelletier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My only question with this is, it was when I saw the report, Cassie Campbell just had a massive, it just got a massive area of their parking lot redone last summer. So when I see this, you know, it just, where's the efficiencies? If we knew that that was happening last summer, why didn't we include that in this tender? Hold off, because to be honest with you, Rob, I didn't think it needed done when I had seen it being done. I'm at Cassie Campbell, especially there, all the time. So I wasn't sure as to why that wasn't included in this.
So through the chair, they wanted to do it in 2 phases, so we didn't interrupt the program within the facility. And funding was the other part of it. So this year we're doing the other half of it, which is a smaller half.
Mm-hmm.
Should take about 25 days, or business days to do. And they'll be starting the work in June, and then from there they'll be moving over to Save Max to do.
And I mean more of like, I know that there's a lot of concrete repairs, I think, at Cassie Campbell that
So
need to
both
be, done.
Yeah.
I guess that's the balance, right? But, you know, we want to try and find as much as efficiency as possible and have it as cheap as possible. But interrupting programming is a big piece of it as well.
So, through the chair, the other piece we do is it does combine in with our trail systems, so all the asphalt. So we are going to bigger contracts, bigger POs and tenders, so that we are getting the best pricing. It's just, we put them all together, but we lay them out separately because of the projects that they are. So together, even in 2023, we're looking at about $9 million for asphalt work, but it's spread out between this facility, Save Max, our trails, and some of our resurfacing. But the rest of the concrete is being done at Cassie as well.
Okay.
To finish it completely.
So a part of this tender then is some of the trail systems throughout Brampton as a whole?
Correct.
Okay. That wasn't in the report, the specific trails. Can I have a look at what trails specifically in wards 2 and 6
Absolutely.
are being done, please?
Yeah, I'll put that list together.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pelletier, will you move the report?
Happy to.
Okay, you have a motion to move the report by Councillor Pelletier. All in favor, any opposed? And that carries. Our next item is item 11.2.9, a staff report titled Special Charges for Noise Wall at 14 and 6. Mr. Clerk?
Through you, that was held but then released by Councillor Fortini, so it was approved as part of consent.
Very good. So then with that being in consent, we now move on to question period for members of committee. Do any members have questions? Seeing none, and we will now move on to public question period. Mr. Clerk, do we have any questions from members of the public?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. Do we need to do 11.3.2, or has that been removed? Mr. Clerk.
Point 3.2 through you was referred to council next week.
Very good. And the correspondence is in consent, so we now have our community services section to be chaired by Councillor Santos. Councillor Santos?
Council, we were supposed to take a pink shirt photo this morning. We have got Joel here waiting patiently for us so the city can share that and show our support for Pink Shirt Day. If we could just quickly take that photo with.
You're going to spare,
Why don't we do that break for lunch?
and then so we can call for a break for lunch, and we can just recess until 12:30.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
12:45.
12:45.
Okay, good.
Very good. We're in recess. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, from our extended lunch break. The next item is community services. Item 12.2.1 was put into consent earlier today, or we dealt with earlier today. 12.2.2 was in consent, and that brings us to 12.2.3, Emancipation Park Servicing Enhancements in Ward 7. I held that report. And so in reading the report, some issues and concerns came to my mind. I'm wondering if, Peter, you could put on the screen the appendix related to the map of the actual property itself. So the biggest concern is that in order to service the park that is owned by the city, it has to go through provincially owned land, which we are currently leasing. And at any given point of time, the province, or well, within 1 year's notice, can take that back. An investment for servicing for a feasibility study is $300,000, which is a lot. And it's estimated that it will cost us $4.2 million just to get water and electricity to the city portion of the actual park. And I know that former councillor Charmaine Williams was very passionate at advocating for this particular location for Emancipation Park. But there is a little bit of good news because she is now the current MPP of Brampton Centre, in which this park resides. And so my suggestion is, before the city actually goes ahead and does anything or spends any money in a very somewhat risky situation where we would be investing a lot of money for servicing on a park through land that we don't own, is actually write a letter, perhaps from the city or from the mayor on behalf of the city, asking the local MPP, who is a champion of this park, whether or not the province would be willing to pay for the servicing so that Emancipation Park can get the amenities that the community are asking for, since the chunk of land where the servicing has to go through actually belongs to the province. So that would be my motion, is to receive the report, not do number 2, and first write the letter to local MPP Charmaine Williams of Brampton Centre, who was the champion of Emancipation Park and also requested for servicing of the park because it's on provincial land, to get the province to pay for it. And I think it would be good to also CC the various organizations that had been requesting for the servicing of that park. And I believe, Mayor Brown, we have a list of the different stakeholders who originally requested for servicing of this particular park. We're discussing the Emancipation Park item.
Yeah, Councillor Santos, they were here at City Council delegating in favor of, I remember it was Peter Lopez, I forget the organization's name, DeWitt, I forget the last name, but yeah, those stakeholders.
Okay. So we'll put a list together of the various stakeholders to be CC'd. But as I was saying earlier, and based on the map that maybe folks can put back on the screen again, in order to service the park, the city actually has to do a feasibility study, which will cost $300,000, and actually service an area that belongs to the province of Ontario. And from my perspective, that at any point in time, within a period of a year, the province can take that land away. So we're making a very risky investment on land that we don't even own. But because the champion of the park was a former councillor and championed this particular location, she's now actually the local MPP of Brampton Centre, where this park resides. And so maybe through the letter and through some encouragement, she may be able to get us $4.2 million plus $300,000 to service the park.
So, Councillor Santos, they're going through provincial budget right now, and they're looking for ideas of things that they can work on. And so, whatever the full costing of the servicing is, that should be sent to them like immediately.
Okay. So maybe we can get that letter drafted. And Mayor, are you okay if the letter comes from you?
Sure.
Okay. And I think it's important to highlight that as a counselor, she championed location for that park as well.
So maybe it should be myself and the ward councilors. Who are the ward councilors there?
In Brampton City. Councillor Fortini and Councillor Power.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be good if it came from the three of us.
Okay, so from the three of you, Ward 7 and 8 local councilors, as well as Mayor Brown, on behalf of council, will send that letter as part of budget deliberations. Yes, perfect. Is that clear enough direction? I guess I turn to Acting Commissioner Boyce. Doctor?
Yeah, through the chair, that's clear enough, and just want to caution that 4.2 is a very high-level estimate, so it certainly could be more than that depending on the feasibility study.
Okay, so to even just study the servicing of the park would cost possibly more than $300,000.
Yeah, if we reference the 300,000, then with costs potentially up to and above 4.2 million.
Okay, and the letter be CC'd to stakeholders as identified through the Mayor's Black Advisory Committee? Is that appropriate, Mayor Brown, or do you have a specific list of people who wanted this servicing? The delegations. Be CC'd to the delegation, to the delegates who requested it. Okay. Now, in the interim, there are some solutions that we can implement according to the report on the city-owned land, including looking at increased grass maintenance, tree planting, solar lighting possibly, and a generated washroom facility. That, I think, the city can do. And if folks are okay with that, we can pass that.
I'd ask for a flag at the time, too.
A flag?
The emancipation flag to be in a prominent location.
Okay.
Yeah, through the chair, I believe they're working on that already. That was already passed, I think, late last term, so that's already in the works. If it's not completed, it probably will be with the new when the weather turns.
Okay. Okay, so we have the motion before us to receive the report, the letter to be sent to local councillor Williams from the mayor and as well as the local councillors, and that the interim solution also be put in place before the summer of 2023. Motion moved. I'll move that myself as Chair of Community Services. All those. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, the flags are in, just confirming.
The flags are in.
The flags are in.
Thanks, Doctor.
That joke's going to go on for a while. All right. Anyone?
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
Councillor
I'm on the
Fortini.
board, maybe. Just a quick question, if I may.
Okay.
Yeah, so do we pay rent? Do we have a lease with them? Do we get this free, this land? I just worry that what happens if they pull it out and say, okay, well, we're taking the land away. You can't use it no more. Well, what happened? Well, that's my only worry.
Yeah, correct. I think that the letter putting it back on the local MPP in the province to find the funding for it to service the provincial land of the park, that's where it comes to play. At the end of the day, I don't think we will be able to, or it will have to come back if the province says no. But again, the cost is over $4.2 million.
Okay, my worry is just if they say, well, we'll just take the land back and you guys have no use for it, then that's all. I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And okay, and then item number 3, moved by myself. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next item is 12.2.4, which we already dealt with. 12.2.5 was put into consent. 12.2.6 also in consent. 12.3.1 in consent. Everything else has been put into consent or dealt with. So that brings us to public question period. Mr. Clerk, any questions from the public?
There are none, Chair Santos.
Thank you. And public question period overall for the session, nothing. Referred matters list, everyone has reviewed the referred matters list. Any members of council have any questions regarding referred matters list? Nothing. Okay, no questions from the public. And we have dealt with, in consent, the closed session items, but we do have some motions that have come out of those closed session items. Mr. Clerk, over to you to summarize.
So through you, Chair Santos, to members of the committee, the first is 15.1, which was a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, a property lease matter. This was considered as part of consent. As part of the direction included in the closed session documentation, there was a recommendation that the following motion be considered in public session. So we will require a mover.
Moved by Councillor Medeiros.
We can just take a vote on that item, and then we can move to the next one.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries.
The next is 15.2, the same open meeting exception. It's a property lease matter. It's 2C and K, position plan criteria, and proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. The public motion is on the screen. It requires a mover.
Moved by Councillor Palleschi. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion carries.
15.3 is another property lease matter. And in regards to C and K under the Municipal Act, and requires a mover.
Moved by Councillor Brar. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries.
And finally, 15.4 is a similar property lease matter, closed session, requires a mover.
Moved by Councillor Vicente. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries.
And that concludes the report out from closed session. Thank you.
Excellent. So the final item is adjournment. Committee is next scheduled to meet Wednesday, March 8th, International Women's Day. I have a motion moved by Councillor Keenan to adjourn today's meeting. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations. We finished before 1:30. Have a great afternoon.